Hey, I'm Kimberly Martin, and I would like to share a little bit of some personal testimony about forgiveness, the power that forgiveness has had on my life and on the lives of those around me. Um, I'm 32. I am married to my best friend and absolute favorite person in the whole entire world, my husband Jason, and together we have three children who are absolutely amazing, and they are my second favorite people in the entire world. So I feel pretty blessed. But do you ever have those moments in your life where you just kind of feel like, man, every time I turn around, everywhere I look, everywhere I go, it just feels like life's just beating me up, and people are coming against me, and things just aren't working right, and I just kind of feel hopeless and lost and things like that. Well, the last 4 years have been like that for me personally. My husband and I have gone through a lot of transition in our life. Um, but the last 4 years have been an extreme amount of transition, and not all of it was bad. A lot of it was very good transition, such as we moved to Crestview, Florida. Um, Never thought I would live here in Crestview, but it's been a blessing. Um, Changes with some of our jobs and just doors opening up, for some book writings and um, just things that we're passionate about. And so there's been a lot of good transition also. Um, but the last 4 years have been a compilation of, because of stresses and outside circumstances, just a lot of stress on me. And I just allowed myself to become burdened down by things that weren't necessarily important. And although I'm not an angry person, um, those last 4 years um, had piled up so heavy on my shoulders that I began to notice myself becoming angry, not towards anybody specifically, but just inside, just this anger that would bubble up, and I didn't even really know where it was coming from, and there were times where I felt like, man, I'm just like this roaring lion, just going around and at everybody, and people around me, they would be like, "What? You're a mouse." So even though to others my anger seemed minute, to me it was a pretty big deal, and I didn't like it. I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like how I would respond sometimes. I really didn't understand where those emotions were coming from, and I would go to the Lord, and the Lord would speak to me. He would show me things about myself, things I didn't even know about, and they would be such a comfort, and I would feel freedom. But every time the Lord would want to really speak to me about some deep personal issues, I would want to push him away, and like, God, I just, no, don't go there, don't go. I don't want you to touch those areas in my heart. And it was really frustrating for me because I knew that I needed healing in some areas of how I felt and how I thought, and how I acted, and what I was thinking and believing. But sometimes sometimes it's just hard to really deal with the most personal things. It's like I'll let people come out on this outside and kind of touch me just so far. you know um, you can come so close, but when it comes to those secret places of your soul, we as humans, we always want to protect. And because of some hurts and wounds that I had received over the last few years, from people outside of my family, I knew that I had built some walls up of distrust and judgment, and had some wounds there. So I spent most of last year kind of being angry at God. You know, when you're going through things, you want somebody to blame, and who wants to blame themselves, right? So I mostly blamed God for things that weren't even his fault, things that I knew weren't his fault. And then the other half of the time, angry at myself because I didn't like who I was or who I felt like I was becoming. So um, in November, the accumulation of all the stress and all the burden and all the things that I was going through at that time just built up and built up. And although the Lord, when I would allow Him to speak truth to me, um, brought relief and freedom, I was still afraid um, that I was unreachable, that I was this horrible person, whatever else it was that I was feeling and thinking at that time. And so I I broke down in probably one of the most um, worst places that you can think of, inappropriate places you can think of. But afterwards, um, I heard the Lord speaking to me um, that He was there for me and that He loved me and that He was with me the whole time um, and that everything was going to be okay. And I felt like I've reached as far as I could go. I've hit rock bottom, so surely there isn't anywhere else I can go but up. And a few weeks later, sure enough, there's some more things that happen. And again, I felt like just kind of hopeless and like, oh, really, life just wants to continue beating me up. Um, but I knew that God said that He would be there for me, that He loved me, that He wasn't going to let me go, that He was for me and not against me, and and so the end of December, right after the Christmas holidays, my husband and children and I were coming back from vacation with family. It was a 7-hour trip. It was late in the evening, and the kids were in the back asleep. And I finally came to a place where I just can't take it anymore. I just give up. I just give up. And I turned to my husband and I said, Jason, I said, why don't you just pray with me? I know I have these walls built up between me and between God, and I'm holding judgments against people, and I can't do this anymore. I've got to be free. And so he began to pray with me, and I began to ask the Lord, Lord, show me something that I'm believing about myself that's not true. Show me something that's causing this anger inside of me, these judgments, these walls inside of me. And so the Lord began to speak to me about forgiveness. And He said, I need you to forgive this person, this person, and this person. And when He said that, I knew exactly what He meant. And so I was like, well, Lord, I've got all these walls up and I'm so angry right now. I don't even know if I even want to forgive anybody, but I know I need to. And so I choose to forgive these persons here for these things. And the Lord said, the Lord was just comforting me, and I knew that He would help me to release the things that I needed to release and release those people and to truly forgive them. And then the Lord, He showed me a vision, and so all of a sudden I saw this big wall of fire, this massive wall of fire, and God was on the opposite side of where I was, and He was just so enormous, to the point you just couldn't even see, you know, His head. He was just so big, and I was on my side, and I was just teeny tiny, and I'm holding this sword, and I'm just so angry, and I'm just yelling at Him, and and as the Lord was helping me to choose to forgive these people, and and I could feel um, a release, I guess you can say, of some of the pressure. And I looked up at the Lord in this vision, and I said, God, will you take this wall of fire? down. I don't want to be angry anymore. And so he bends down where his face is almost touching mine, and he smiles really big. He's like, yes. And so he scoops me up and he blows, and all of a sudden the whole wall of fire, this wall of fire, as far as you could see, it's just gone. And I see these crackling embers on the ground, and immediately I could feel this release, this complete release of pressure, and I could feel automatically this anger just begin to depart. And it was almost as if you could breathe. It's almost as if something was pressing down on my lungs for so long, making it hard to breathe. And now I could take these deep breaths again. And so as I'm enjoying this newfound freedom, I could still feel this tiny little bit of pressure. And I asked the Lord, is there somebody else that I need to forgive? And he said, you need to forgive yourself for this, and this. And most of it was being in agreement and being angry and allowing myself to be condemnation and just being fearful. And so I said, okay, God, well, I said, I don't really know how to forgive myself, but I make a choice right here. I choose to forgive myself. And Father, that you would finish what I don't know how to do, that you would make it a complete work in me, that I can really accept myself. And so as I said those words, again, I looked up at the Lord and I said, I don't even want these little crackling embers. I don't want any trace of this wall left in my life. And so the Lord set me down on my feet. I was barefooted in this vision on the embers, and he said, now dance. And so I started to dance. And as I did, I immediately felt in real life absolute complete freedom to breathe. All of those pressures, all of the anger, everything was completely gone. And then I turned to the Lord, because in the vision, all those embers were completely gone. There was no trace of that wall left. And so I'm asking the Lord, I said, Lord, now I need you to speak to me a truth. How do you see me? How do you feel about me? And so he began to speak some things to me that absolutely perfected that change that I had already began to feel freedom from. And as I began to receive what he was speaking to me, I just felt so alive and different, and joy and peace and joy that I haven't felt in over a year. I started to feel again. And so it's been since the end of December, and now it's the beginning of June, and I've had ample opportunities to allow that same anger to come up, but I haven't even wanted it. I haven't had a need, and every time that opportunity would arise, I knew that I had a choice. I had a choice either to become angry or to let it go. And it was just so easy to let it go. Before, growing up, I was one of those types of people who, when things would happen to me, I would just step it down. And I would try to deal with it on my own. And I didn't even feel that way. I didn't feel like I needed to hide it. I didn't feel like I needed to deal with it. I didn't feel like I needed to step it down. I felt free enough to say, you know what? I don't have to be like that. I don't have to be angry at all. And so that's my testimony, that God is so faithful, that even when I was angry at him, even when I blamed him for things that wasn't even his fault, even when I chose to not allow him to love on me and to speak truth to me, he was still very persistent. He chased me that entire year. And he was so faithful. So when I was ready to quit trying to do everything on my own, he was there, and he was saying, okay, I have the answers for you. I have tools. I'm ready to set you free. I'm ready to love on you. I'm ready to give you my joy, my peace. And so I am just so thankful and so excited to be able to share something with you. I know it seems a little out there, but it's very real to me. And my life the last 6 months has been living proof that forgiveness, forgiveness sets you free. Amen.